Yo, yo, yo. What's going on? Omaha and whoever else is tuning in, it is January 19th. Hold on, let me pull my mic over here. All right, it's January 19th, and today's episode of Sermons with Sherman, it's going to be educational. It's going to be historical. We're talking about history of something that happened in the past, but with the current police shootings that we have had already, I'm gonna show you how it ties back into everything that we've been seeing and going through already. With the murder of brother Stephen Phipps and Cameron Ford, the same playbook of I fear for my life. We're gonna talk about a police shooting that happened to 27-year-old brother Rudy White, and it was in 1979. Hey, Natalie. Hey, Miss Wanda. All right. And we do have Rudy White's daughter here. Okay. So I will be right back in a second and give me a brief moment.
Determination to change the nation, I'm manifesting the truth. Back in the booth to give you the messages that's been channeling right through me. No, I'm not Jesus, although my spirit is great. I'm eating my food without a plate, escaping this place through my meditations. New life begun when I reloaded the gun and realized where I was from was not too far from the sun. Like somewhere close by the moon. Now I'm connected like Zoom. On walks of life that ever lived call me like out of the blue. So I just pass it to you, right through your speakers with clues. And if you choose to free your mind, then you will have all the tools. But I can't make you take it and shake it and mentally break yourself out. Cause freeing your mind without a doubt is something you have to try out. But once you see the light, your might, and all the power you've had, then you have reached the fifth dimension and you can brighten your path. But others who choose to follow the red pills, it's harder to swallow. Or you can wallow in your sorrows, feeling all empty and hollow. The only way you'll see the truth is if it's starting with you. So please stop lying to yourself, start being truthful to you. The only way you'll see the truth is if it's starting with you. So please stop lying to yourself, start being truthful to you, to you.
All right. So today, like I said, we have a special episode, and we doing some learning in Omaha, some Omaha history. And for those of you that don't know, I love to explore the things that's been going on or that done happened in Omaha, but I also stay up with the new stuff. Hey, Carrie, Mary Hardeman. Hey, my dear, how are you? Love you, girl. Yeah. So, and I like to keep up with the new things that's been going on and the old things. And so we had, I've been having this information for quite some time. And here he is, brother Rudy White, Pip Juice, Yeah. So I've been having this information for quite some time. We did a lot of digging. Miss Janelle, which is his daughter, I worked with her, and we went through this journey a while ago, and then we collected a lot of evidence, and then it came back to brother Ernie Chambers. Surprisingly, he was already out of the chamber, but he still had these documents from 1979, over 40 years ago, and so he kindly gave them to me. And at first he thought Janelle couldn't handle it, because it was such a tragedy. And so he was uncomfortable giving her the documents. But then when I contacted him, I actually went to his house and left a note on his door saying, hey, I got this girl. She reached out to me and I wanted to be able to help her with getting the information on what happened to her father. And he turned over the box. I had to go all the way to Lincoln and get it. And we went to Lincoln and we got that box. And me and Janelle went down to the police department and we got them police reports. And even though some of the stuff was changed and all that, we took what we could get. So without further ado, I'm gonna bring Sister Janelle on. Okay, give me 1 second. There she go.
Hey,
Hey,
Sherman. Thank you.
how you doing?
So, hi, how you doing?
I'm all right. So yeah, people already tuning in. Natalie said pimp juice for show. Yeah,
Right. And I
yeah,
see my family on here, so I appreciate you all.
yeah. And so we want to get into the story of your dad, but before we do that, I just want to talk to you about your life growing up. What did you hear about your dad, and how difficult was it growing up without your father?
It was hard, but at the same time, I'm grateful that my dad's side of the family was very hands on. Like, I didn't have a messed up childhood. So, to learn about it, yeah, it hurts because you like, dang, that's what happened to my dad. Or I remember introducing my mom with the last name White, and she's like, that's not my last name. But I didn't understand because that was my grandma and my aunt's they last name, and you was with my dad. So that's what made it hard. And then when I did find out, my family was always forthcoming. And I mean, it was no reason not to ask. So when I did find out, and the first time I went out the forest lawn to his gravesite, like I knew where I was at, and that was my dad. So yeah, it was there. And that's how it hurts, but it is what it is because you can't take it back.
Yeah, and I just want to give you all the love and props for one for not folding. You wanted to find out, and when you wanted to find out, wasn't nothing about to stop you from finding out.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah, and when you contacted me about it, and we started going through it, I know the process. It was a lot of tears and stuff like that, but I commend you for being able to dig, get the information, and then still talk about your father. Even coming on here today to educate the community on your father. And like we was talking about before we got started, is there's a playbook for whenever these people kill somebody in our community. They
Say
have a
the same thing.
playbook on what they do and what they say to cover up what they do to us. It's always a
Yes.
play, the same play. I fear for my life, but you're the one who created the situation. So just like with Cameron Ford over the summer, you walked into his house, stormed in there. You say you fear for your life, but you came into his house early in the morning. This man was in his drawers. He didn't have a choice. He put his hands up and you shot him. Same with brother Phipps. He running from these guys. They're already known for harassing him. And he ran and he jumped the fence. And on the body camera footage, which they haven't showed, he said, okay, y'all got me. I give up. And that cop still shot him 8 times on the ground. So again, here we are, another, the same old same. And this was from 1979. And I'm going to tell y'all, man, something. Brother Ernie was on their neck. I mean, he was on their neck. And
Gas.
man, all gas. And so we want to go through some of the paperwork that from like the news articles that Ernie had when he was going through telling the people what was going on, saying how he knew it wasn't right, and then he was presenting his evidence. But Janelle, um, what I mean, when you found out you was already in your 40s, right? And so
Oh, I knew when I was 5 at
yeah,
birth. I knew what happened, but I had only, when I was in high school, I
okay,
went to the library. Remember, you asked me, like, how do you know about this story? And I
yeah,
had to tell you, my family told me, but I got this from the library. You can't pull my dad's name if you put it in online. You won't see anything because that's how far they call themselves trying to bury it. That's why when we went to the police station, well, when I went the first time, they were so shocked and it scared them because they didn't think anybody was out here that knew that story.
right.
So at 40, when Ernie Chambers, writing down on it, he gave that paperwork. That's the part that stung the worst because everything was in there. You see murder on paper. Like, how can you read that about somebody and it's your dad, but these I'ma say it, these white people. This is what you done. So yeah, it hurt even worse then because now I know and y'all was wrong. And that man went like even now they get on administrative leave and still get paid and then get to come back to work like did nothing happen. That the same play went down 45, almost 46 years again, August the 8th. You know,
Mm,
that's crazy. So it's still the same story, but nobody ever, y'all don't care what it affects a family, but you care what it affects that uniform, and then that's all a facade because at the end of the day, it's all a clan and put together, which is wrong, and they don't get held accountable. That's why it's the same thing. If you read pretty much anybody's story that's out here nowadays, it reads the exact same as what we read when we read through my dad's file.
right,
But that was more police reports and everything else. So think about these people that really don't get that type of information.
right. Yeah, and like she said, the system hasn't changed. Brother Mackey said the system hasn't changed, and then my wife said there's no accountability, and that's
Never.
true, never. So let me go and let me stop this screen and present this next screen. So what I'm going to bring up is the first page of the police report that me and Nelly was able to get.
Look, my family done turned you out that quick on Nelly, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah. So here is the police report, and as you can see, he was only 27 when this happened. It was on 1810 Gray Street, and they saying the extent of the injury was a puncture wound left side. Okay, and he was shot with a 38 revolver. And the officer that did it, Terry Meisinger. Okay, Meisinger, yeah, and so sorry about that, but I get so upset because the way they did this thing. So Terry was already accused of harassing black people in North Omaha before, right? He was already doing it. And then he met Rudy. And he thought that he was going to be able to rough Rudy up and do the same thing he been doing to these black people around here in North Omaha. Well, you got the right one, baby.
Man,
right?
on that day.
So on that day, he called himself roughing Rudy up, hitting him with the stick, doing all this stuff. And what did Rudy do? Rudy
He
had
beat
them
him up.
hands. He beat that boy up. And Terry turns around and pull out his revolver and shot Rudy. Okay. And then not only did he shoot him, then he radioed in
And
the
lied.
wrong location where he was located. So he allowed Brother White to lay there and bleed out while the other police coming would go to the wrong location, which allowed him to sit and bleed because you called in the wrong location on purpose. Okay. And so when you look at this, the event of injuries, he had jaw laceration to his right jaw, bruises on his face, hands, and teeth. That's a fight. Okay.
A whole fight.
Yeah. A whole fight. And what I didn't tell y'all was when Terry pulled over Rudy, he didn't call it in. They're supposed to call it in and say, I'm making a stop on this person at this place, blah, blah, blah. He didn't call it in because he thought he had another one that he was going to beat up and send on his way. The only reason he radioed in was after he shot Rudy, and then he radioed in the wrong location just to make sure Rudy couldn't tell his side of the story and just to let Rudy sit there and bleed out. Okay. So let's go to the page where they give us their narrative. Okay. Right here on August 8th, 79 at 02:13 hours. I, Officer Warner, this is one of the officers that showed up, number 753, went to 1802 Grace on a helper officer call. Now it's helper officer. After you started it, now it's helper officer. Again, I feared for my life. I need help, but you started it. Okay. Upon arrival, the victim was taken to St. Joe Hospital for treatment. At the hospital, and they calling the victim the officer. Notice that. At the hospital, the victim stated he stopped the suspect because the party was in a vehicle which matched one used in some type of disturbance. We don't know, just some type. Okay. When the victim asked the suspect for some identification, the suspect stated he didn't have a license. So notice the wordplay. They calling the officer the victim and brother Rudy the suspect. But what is he suspected of? We don't know, because you said some type of disturbance. So he didn't do nothing to nobody. You didn't see him swerving. He didn't go in the other lane or nothing. You stopped him because he was a suspect of some type of disturbance. Okay. When the victim asked him for his ID, he stated he didn't have a license. The victim went on to say he noticed the suspect had a billfold in his pocket. So he asked the suspect to get out the vehicle and attempted to pat him down. So how are you attempting to pat him down when the autopsy said he had a laceration to his jaw and bruises on his face and stuff? You're not attempting to pat him down. You asked him to get out so you can beat him up, right? At this time, the suspect started fighting with the victim, and ensuing a struggle, the suspect hit the victim on the right side of the jaw, on the right side of the shoulder. The victim also received numerous abrasions to the back, arms, and elbows. The victim sustained a large laceration to the right side of his jaw. After treatment, the victim was transported to Central Station for further investigation. So you got into a fight with Rudy and got your ass whooped. You pulled him out the car on some fake disturbance, fake, I'm asking him for his ID, and you claim Rudy just started fighting you. But Rudy didn't pull you over to start the fight. Rudy didn't say, hey, police, come over here, I want to fight you. You pulled Rudy over and you started harassing him with your known harassment, because you've already done it before to other people in the city. You've done it before. Okay? So let's not play the game of Rudy started something when we know it was you that started it. Okay? You started it. You got the wrong one, 27-year-old bull, pimp juice, and he wasn't taking your bullshit that night. You didn't even give him a valid reason for pulling him over, and you didn't even call in the reason why I'm making this stop because of this. You didn't say nothing at all. Okay? So they created that narrative, but now we can see that the narrative was not true. Okay? So I'm going to pull up some stuff from Ernie Chambers, some newspaper articles from Ernie Chambers where he was digging into these people. And he did so much digging that he requested that the Department of Justice come into town and investigate the police department and the brutality that was taking place in the 70s.
And he didn't want to.
Right?
That, yep. That's when you read that. He was reaching out to everybody, writing to Washington. He was trying everything. My cousin that's on here, her father is the one that wouldn't identify my father. So, and Ernie Chambers, he went with him. Yeah.
Wow. So just when we got that report, I want to know, how did you feel when we got that report?
Whew, it was a lot to read. It was a lot, it's like, again, how do you read murder on paper? And this man still, I mean, he should be dead by now, but the last time we checked, he was still living. And he got people still on the force. So it make you scared. I wait to see one of their names that I know is connected to him to flash across that screen that they've committed one of those murders in Omaha, because it make you be on point. These people don't care, and if they know they can get away with it, they're going to continue to do it. And again, that's where we at right now.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it hurt me, the whole foul of it, because they had no regard. And the people that work with him, again, because they work as a unit, they had no regard, because they seen what they pulled up on when he was sending them to the opposite locations.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know that as a kid. So to read that as an adult, It's like, man, this man did everything. He sent them from UNO all the way to Epley Airfield.
Come on now.
But you was on 18th and Grace, and my dad was only 3 blocks away from his own house. On eight, if you took 18th and you went on down to 1802, Locust, my great grandparents' house was right there. That's where he was headed. So to read that and you know that he on his way home to my mom and my mom pregnant, he was in my mom's car. My great grandfather name was on that. Not my great grandfather, wrong grandpa. My grandpa's name was on that car. That was her first car she ever got. So to read that on the paper and why, you supposed to be looking for 3 white boys in a green duster, not a single black man in the car by himself. So yeah, that mess your head up when you reading how easy it is for them to lie and walk away with it. Like, how do you honestly live with yourself?
Right. And so this is what she's talking about. So this is the other officer's report at 2:13 hours on the day of August 1979. These reporting received a 3-beep signal over the radio. Help officer possibly at Epley Airfield. At this time, we, Gariglo and Zocha, drove to 11th Street and Nicholas when the radio operator stated that the officer was possibly at 24th and Clark. So we then turned around and drove up to 19th and Clark, where Gariglo and Zocha finally found officer from District 204 with District 205 Warner. At this time, Officer Messinger was transported to the hospital by the Officer Warner from District 205. And at this time, other district cruisers arrived in the area and it was secured. Okay. So the initial call from this guy, he told them he was possibly by Epley Airfield. This is on purpose, people. He on purpose said that I'm possibly by Epley Airfield. But had you done your job in the beginning, which is call in during the stop, before you get out your car, when you pulled him over, you hit your cherries, you should have said, I'm making a stop at this place, at this location. You wouldn't have had to blabber and try to figure out where you at. But it wasn't trying to figure out where he was at. He was giving Rudy time to bleed out from that gunshot wound. Okay.
And them same cobblestones is still on that street. I'm pretty sure that blood is deep down in there. Ain't that crazy and ironic they've never pulled that up?
Never.
I ain't been home in a couple of years, but last time I checked, it was still cobblestone going all the way to my great grandparents' house. So yeah, to read that and to see that, yeah, you put them, you waited, you set your whole stage for what you did, and that's what they do now.
Right.
The same thing. They wait for these babies to die and go through all of this for you still just to get paid, leave pay, and get to come back to your job.
Right.
When is it gonna stop? You in the end, they don't want us to speak up for ourselves, and then you got a lot of us that are just scared to speak up.
Scared.
But when it's your turn and it happened to you, just like a lot of people that know me, they don't even know my story behind this. I ain't never really been too vocal. I was able to be humble in my life with my situation, but it was still there, you know. But some people, like me, when we went and talked to Justin Wayne, you see, he like, well, ain't nothing you could do about it, and that's messed up because I'm still this kid. I'm my dad's only child. After me, it ain't none because I don't even have any children. You know what I'm saying? So my story, I want it to be told. I want my dad's story to be told, and maybe that'll help some people in the community, not just on, and it's sad to say because things don't change like that. However, it make our black young brothers and sisters, y'all shooting, y'all fighting each other, y'all tripping with each other when we got enough of that on our own just with fighting the law. You know what I'm saying? They want to enslave us for the rest of our life. So what we supposed to do?
Right.
So yeah, to read that, like I said, it every time I go back to it, it's like, dang, you know, and then to look at my family, like I invited my uncle on here, and I had to be humble to know, you know, it ain't that he want to save face or didn't want, like you said, half of these people probably on here is my family, okay? However, they can't speak about it still because you don't know what your outcome gonna be because these people they still got the power.
Right.
So what
Generation
do you do?
to generation. And
Yeah,
Dr. Natasha Gettings, who I interviewed. That was the last show I did was in December, and I talked about her people, Brian Spencer, and she said, "Take your time and let's keep shedding light in these dark places where they leave us dead with no consequence or concern. They go home and sleep well and have for centuries. We are literally fighting for our lives, and we are not being served well or protected. Praying for justice for your family." Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
we do this every day.
And she
That's your
said they
best
want to
shit.
silence us. Shut up and sit down. The racism moving into this country keeps us with higher rates of incarceration, lower lifespan, and poverty. Right. And so that's why I said for you to be able to come on here and still be able to talk about it, I do appreciate you doing that. And like I said, we dove into this so long ago, and I still got the documents. That's how important it is to me because um, that situation that happened with Rudy, that could have been any one of us, right?
Yeah,
Um, Rudy White is North Omaha. He is us, and so that could have been one of us. So I do want to bring up this article from it's a White House notes letter of Ernie Chambers that he sent June 6, 1980, and Senator Chambers he received word from the White House that his letters about alleged violence by the Omaha police has been turned over to the U.S. Justice Department. And at the time, President Carter, rest in peace, he asked me to respond to your letters in regarding the police violence in Omaha. Jack H. Watson Jr., presidential assistant and internal for the intern government affairs, said in the letter to Chambers, we are especially concerned about the allegations you make and have forwarded your letters to the Department of Justice for further inquiry. Watson said, you can be sure that the justice will look into the situation and take appropriate actions as warranted. Chambers, who released the White House letter Friday, previously had asked the Justice Department to investigate allegations that Omaha police officers mistreat blacks. In a February letter to the U.S. Attorney Edward Warren, Chambers suggested some of the cases be given to a federal grand jury. One case that chairman of Legislative Committee on Law and Enforcement was especially concerned about was the police officer involved shooting, Terry Meisinger, fatal shooting of Rudy White, 27, during an apparent struggle. Right? Chambers last year said he found discrepancies in the police reports indicating that August 8th, 1979 shooting could have been avoided. Douglas County Attorney Donald Knowles cleared Messenger of any wrong.
wrongdoing.
Okay. He cleared him of any wrongdoing, even though there was
It's on paper.
discrepancies in the reports. Okay.
And it was it's on paper the same, and that's what I liked about back then. Ernie Chambers was able to get all of that. That I love that man with all my heart. He held on to that paper for over 40. What was we at 42 years
It
at
was
that
about
time?
42 years when we got it from him, and I love him for that, man.
Man, he had it all. But I always knew. I mean, if anybody on here that's really from here, y'all remember when he used to be in the Cox Cable building on 48th in Ames, right there, and he would do his little show on Channel 22? I used to listen to him, and I knew he was always involved with this with my dad, and I called, and he got off the phone with me real quick. He knew because I think someone in my family, I don't know if it was my mother or one of my aunts, they would reach out to him. Remember, he told us that, Sherman, that
Mhm.
somebody in my family called him and asked him not to give me this paperwork. That's
Yep.
why I had to have Sherman help me to get it because Ernie didn't think I was strong enough to read it because this man knew it was a real life case at the end of the day. So yes, this goes back deep, and that's to make you, feel in your heart like tell this story because it happens, and I wish a lot of other people would tell their story about it because I know I'm not the only kid. You know, Marvin Ammons, he died right there on the corner of our house.
Man.
He served in Saudi Arabia. He used to cut our grass for us. He was somebody that served the
Yeah,
United States. Excuse me. And they took that man's life for no reason. And even if he did have a gun on him, he had put in work and he was registered to have whatever he had on him. He was legit. He served the country. He ain't no different than a police officer.
absolutely. And with Ammons, he had a cell phone. And just so happened this summer, I happened to have his granddaughter in my class when I was doing the entrepreneurship class this summer. And me and her dove into her grandfather's murder, just so
Really?
she could see, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so on this page, Ernie says, please do not be put off by the seemingly large number of questions, Chambers wrote. Chambers' past and present questions have centered on radio transmissions that may have prevented help from arriving sooner at the scene and on Messenger's use of force in a struggle with White. Police records said Messenger stopped the car White was driving at 18th and Gray Street on suspicion of possible connection with an earlier incident. A struggle ensued, and in fear of his personal safety, there's their word. In fear of their personal safety, Messenger shot White with his service revolver, police officials said. Okay. There's their word. Fear of my life. I was so scared.
That Bible.
Yeah.
That Bible. Yeah. That them key words. If you notice, like you said, there goes that word. Again, you always in fear. But yet it was ways to prevent that. You can't take a job and then you scared all the time. Then what you got the job for?
Right. Yeah. Why do you have the job if you scared for your life?
You shouldn't have that type of job because the safety ain't there. And we should be able to feel safe when they come around. But again, you can't. And that's why this situation is still going on. Omaha has a lot of deaths with Black men. And I'm pretty sure even more. And people just don't talk about it because it's so small there. They be scared.
Yeah. And just like the brother saying, you be careful living in Omaha and exposing Omaha's ugly truth. But I work for God with God. And so I can't live in no type of fear, but I'm definitely careful and I appreciate your words, brother. I really do. I do want to pull up this next piece. So this is about the third request made to investigate the police. Citing 3 more incidents, State Senator Ernie Chambers has made his third request this month that the U.S. Justice Department investigate allegations that the Omaha police officer mistreat Blacks. In a February 11th letter to U.S. Attorney Edward Warren, Chambers suggested that some of the cases be given to the federal grand jury. Chambers enclosed letters that allege that without cause, Officer pulled Samuel L. Hunter of 3751 North 42nd Street out of his car, roughed him up, and arrested him. Okay? Here we go. The consistency. Pulled him out, roughed him up. But you tried to do that to Brother White, and it didn't happen, right? Roughed up Lawrence Richardson. No address given at the time. And so here you got the police pulling people out their cars and just roughing them up. Right? Oh, Mackie Moore, that's a female. Okay. I'm sorry. I thought that was a brother. There's 2 people in the picture, and Mackie that's my fault. Sorry, Miss Moore. Okay. But here you got these police officers pulling people over and just roughing them up, right? And the police chief to study new Chambers note. So the chief at that time said he was going to study it and he was going to look into it. But if you look at some of these last names, you'll start noticing these are some of the same people that we're dealing with today. Okay. Police Chief Richard Anderson declined comment Thursday on the latest in a series of letters from State Senator Ernie Chambers about the Rudy White shooting case. Anderson said he wouldn't comment before studying the copy of the Wednesday letter from Chambers to Public Safety Director William C. McDonald. In the letter, Chambers criticized McDonald for a three-page report he sent the senator on September 10th. The report was in answer to Chambers' inquiries involving the shooting death August 8th of White during a struggle with Omaha police officer Terry Messenger, where he said he shot him in self-defense with his service revolver and the officer was cleared of any wrongdoing. He wrote several letters, okay? Several. And so Chambers claims backing in Omaha shooting probe. And so what I'm going to do, oh, he said I was about to tell him you a woman. Okay.
Because these is my cousins, so yeah.
Okay.
And make you a girl, I was gonna say something.
Yeah.
Look, they gonna come in with the jokes.
Yeah. You should have told me. I didn't know. Shoot,
look, I was gonna interrupt you, but they talk trash, so they gonna break the ice. They was gonna bring that. Okay. So look, yeah, to make me cousin. Yeah. I love y'all. I don't know why I can't chat with y'all.
Yeah.
What you say?
They set me up for failure. Trying
man.
To up.
Look, back to back, and I can't comment. Why this thing don't let me comment? I tried to join the chat.
To me, they only come into our personal chat when you write something.
I seen that.
Yep. And so what I'm going to do with these letters, I want to post them on my page so y'all have time to read them, because the point of showing these is really to show how much Ernie put into trying to stand up for us, working towards, not trying, he was doing it. He was working towards standing up for the Black community way back then in 1979. And he wanted to make sure that the Department of Justice understood that there was a systematic behavior of police here in Omaha mistreating the Black community. And it was happening so much. You see, he wrote 3 letters in 1 month, right? To the White House. He wasn't playing. He didn't write it to the governor, to the mayor. He went straight to the White House. And so they did reply to Chambers and saying that it's going to take time to answer some of his questions. But in that meantime, what did you do? Clear him of any charges, put him right back on the police force.
Right back.
He right back in our community patrolling the neighborhood, just like they did when the officer shot Vivian Strong in the back of the head. And they cleared him of any wrongdoing of shooting a 14-year-old girl in the back of the head in 1969, and then just put him right back on the police force, right back in the same neighborhood, just like they just did currently with Stephen Phipps' killer. He shot Stephen, and you put him right back on the police force in South Omaha. And the only way we knew he was back on the police force was how? Because he shot a dead body in the closet. You went south. It was a standoff, a girl and a man. They was in the room and you heard a gunshot. They opened the closet and they opened fire on this man, which the gunshot that they heard was him taking his own life. But they opened the closet and opened fire on the dead body. And we didn't know the man was back on the police force until he did that.
Wow. Seeing that they so sneaky with it.
Yeah, sneaky with it. Yeah, but you shot Stephen upside down like he was John Wick. Because when he was falling, the gun pointed towards you upside down. Yeah. So, Janelle, I mean, really, I know telling the story is rough, but are you hoping to get any? I mean, somebody's asking, how long does it take? Everybody is dead now. So, is there anybody online that's paying attention or watching to see that is it a statute of limitations on something like this? You know, because like in this letter, it say Chambers' past and present questions have centered on radio transmissions that may have prevented help from arriving sooner. And he purposely shot this man and then purposely gave the wrong location.
See, and that's what makes you wonder, why don't they have, I thought there was no statute of limitations on murder. Why would it be different for a police officer? And why wouldn't the state you should be held liable? And I feel like that with just everybody, but even for us, because half of our stories as a Black community have always been hidden because it was no wrong. Look at how many cases they would have. You know what I'm saying? I wish I could be one. Right. I wish I could have wrote that man a letter. You know what I'm saying? Just to let you know what you do. And I don't feel that you probably wasn't an example because you was doing it so much.
Right. And I do want to point out this part right here where it says, since the August 8th shooting, and exoneration of messenger by Douglas County Attorney Donald Knowles, Chambers has asked city officials for answers to his questions about the official police investigation. Chamber written questions are broken into 11 seconds that deal with the shooting itself, police procedures, whether messenger may have known White, an analysis of the time frame of the shooting, preservation of evidence, and other suspected other aspects of the case. And so that was kind of like the reason why I brought that up is because even with the shooting of Stephen Phipps, we find out afterwards that both of those officers have been harassing Stephen before. So even Ernie back then was questioning, did the officer know your dad?
And that's what I'm wondering, because I was gonna just be honest with you. My dad was a thug, and like I'm just blessed to be able to get my uncle back in my life after 38 years, and just hearing the stories. They was thugs together. So my dad wasn't perfect. I mean, even in the paperwork, we had to laugh about it. He used my great uncle's name when Miss Singer pulled him over. It's in the paperwork. He remember you see he said that he was Robert White. Well, that's my uncle. So you already was in the streets like that. So yes, that's to be expected. But do something to a person that's wrong. Quit assuming. Quit reacting. You know, that's like you said, that young man just was shot. White was already dead. You know, y'all reacted. What happened if he would have been holding a baby? You know, you still gonna let him walk? You see, even like Scotty, he did that. Yeah, you was had some involvement, but look, the only person they wanted to fry was the black man. It was white boys and Mexicans there. They made Scotty take that by himself.
Right.
So it's just like some clan if you with the wrong people. There go that death certificate.
Yeah. And I want to
Yeah,
point out immediate cause of death, gunshot wound of the left chest. And then they got on here justifiable homicide. Justified by who? Okay. Justified by who? Justified him shooting him. Why would you put that on somebody's death certificate?
man. Man,
Justified by,
you could have just put gunshot wound.
right.
But that lets you know that's how they wording. They don't care how they talk to us. But we have allowed it and people won't speak up for themselves.
Right.
You talk about that all the time. You know I'm about that life. I don't care, especially when it come down to my dad, because everybody parents have choices, but why should anybody ever be the person that makes that choice for another human being?
Right.
Especially like that, like what we read on this paper. So yeah, post that, please. I want people to read about my dad and his story with these folks. And again, he was a
Right.
thug, but he had a diploma. And
He
those
had a
are all
diploma.
things that I've been blessed to acquire from my family. My family,
And
like I
like
said,
Miss
you asked how it was when I was a kid. My family kept me looped in, and I knew about my dad. I knew what went on.
right.
Always pimping.
And like Miss Moore said, the police wouldn't even escort the funeral for Rudy. Yeah. As long as these American KKKs, yes, they in control, they gonna keep getting away with it. And so here's brother Rudy's obituary. Okay. Myers Funeral Home. Okay. The, these people have been getting away with it for far too long. And how is it in 1979 they got the same narrative that they're using in 2022 when they shot and killed my cousin Amir in Minnesota? They feared for their life, but you came in on a no-knock search warrant. He's an armed person because he has a legal license to have a gun, but you shot and killed him because he woke up and started to reach for his gun because he was scared, didn't know what was going on, but you shot and killed him. He wasn't even the person he was looking for. But this is what they do. So even with Vivian, when my cousin Vivian got killed, last summer, the summer before last, when we was working on getting her historical marker, the mayor sent 2 of her people down to the office to say they didn't want us to put up a historical marker for Vivian because it was a police involved shooting. And then everybody's going to want something kind of marker or history marker put up because, when they loved one get killed by the police. How about y'all stop killing people? How about the police stop doing that? This is an unarmed 14-year-old girl, and you shot her in the back of the head. And like my cousin Carol said, how could you find him not guilty of nothing? Okay. And so you're using the same story on Rudy. You killed him August 8th, 1979. You're using the same story with Cameron Ford. You shot and killed him and said, I was so scared for my life, but y'all had body armor, head armor, shields, outnumbered him. This man was in his drawers, waking up out of his sleep, but you feared for your life. Okay. And then same with Steven. You fear for your life as he's flipping over the fence and the gun just happened to point out you as it's falling out of his waist. And then you can shoot him 8 times on the ground after he said, okay, y'all got me. I give up. Okay. She said, wait until tomorrow when the new administration comes in. We have no protection. We have no federal government to support our investigation of the state. That's right. Because that's what he planned on doing. Total police immunity. Take the Department of Justice out of the states and let the states investigate themselves. And if it don't work, then, we don't have the option of calling in the federal government.
Right. And we in trouble with that.
And we in real trouble. Yeah. So, I just really wanted y'all to see this and to understand that this is not new. When you know your history, you can understand the future. And then also you got to understand what to teach your children and your loved ones and your family how to move around, not just Omaha, but everywhere.
Man.
Because they doing it to us everywhere. The police will kill you, make up a story, lie, and the people in charge will help cover up their lie and story. Okay? It's not new. It's not new. And again, going back to what she said, as long as they in control, they're going to keep getting away with it. Yeah. And so I'm going to post the newspaper articles from Brother Chambers on my page for the people to see, because it's not like we making this up. And I want y'all to be able to go through and look at it. And so that way y'all can read the story and how they dealt with it. And then how the mayor at that time turned around and dismissed the case. He basically said there was nothing else to look for. And the case is over and he was done. Let me see, where is that? I got that piece right there. Let me see. He said he was done with it. There it is.
Yes, they said that all up in there. You could see everybody that was a moving part in Omaha, Nebraska. The mayor, wasn't it the governor on something on here?
Yeah.
Yeah, they got together to put this, to hide it.
Right. She said we was always taught to respect the police so we wouldn't get shot, which is crazy because Philando Castile in Minnesota, he got pulled over with his girlfriend and his baby. And he just told the officer, I got my firearm in here and I just wanted to let you know. And the officer shot and killed him just for telling him he had it. He never reached for it. Wow. That's like the utmost respect of what you could do. And just, they tell you to announce it if you got a gun. He announced it and you still shot and killed him for nothing.
And right. So many people, yes.
And so, the chief said the shootings are closed. He closed every single shooting case and anything that was going on back then, he closed them all. And he said, I don't care what people say or how they criticize me. He said, when the vipers start hissing, I know I'm near the target. So when they hiss the loudest, I'll strike the hardest. That was from Chambers. But the chief 100% said he was done. He spent several. He said, I spent a considerable amount of time reviewing the report and I find no reason to alter the same. After considering your comments with regard to said findings, the mayor told the senator. So he no matter how much stuff you bring up, everything you say, all the reports, everything you said, it don't matter. We don't think none of the officers did nothing wrong. None of them. And so, and he brought up those different shootings where there was another incident where a person was wielding a knife Um, and the police officer shot him. Um, brother, let me see, Joseph Bosovic and Gordon Elkins shot at Hyatt after he fired a shotgun at Bosovic and wounded the officer. But Chambers said the reports by the two officers are inconsistent with respect to the number of shots fired. So again, back then they were already just killing people, black people.
And out loud, they
They're lying.
lie out loud. Look, that's the bad part. They didn't mind putting it on paper, and they still do it to us today.
And what's
Uh,
crazy is he sit here and he says, in the interview Wednesday, Anderson said investigations into the death of Rudy White and Richard Hyatt are closed. He said press conference coverage of these investigations and of Chambers' inquiry have had a negative effect on the police.
the police did that to themselves.
He said it was a negative effect on the police because Chambers kept on bringing it up. Right here. He said he kept bringing it up so much that it had a negative effect on them. Right? Come on, man. The negative effect, what about the negative effect on the community when you killing people in our community and you sending them right back after they kill us? What about that negative effect and how it affected those people in 1979, in
And couldn't feel
1969?
safe. Right.
You
Scared
know,
to be on your own block real quick. Because you didn't know. So clearly they was roughing them up all up and down there on 24th.
right? Yeah. On video.
Yes.
Yeah. And Miss Mack
Yeah.
said they rules don't apply to us. God knows all and sees all. And it's just lies and they covered it up. So yeah. So I mean, Miss Wash, anything else you want to add before we get off this live? And then, like I said, I'm going to finally go ahead and post this to my page so people have a chance to sit down and read these newspaper clippings. And y'all can really look at the evidence for yourself. We are not considered to be humans. You right. We still consider property to them, Miss Mackey. We're considered property. That's what they consider us to be.
Yeah, I want people to keep themselves informed and stay out the way. And then also fight for what you feel. My uncle texted me because when you're going against the police, he said the statute of limitations is different. It's 18 to 24 months or something. So I feel that I've always got bumped with that, but that's the thing. They make them exempt. There again, no accountability. Did your wife say that? You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? None of that.
Yeah.
So you don't get that leverage. That's why I said there's a lot of young folks out here like me that have gone through this and there was no way. However, I will say some of them lose, but look how hard you've been fighting for your cousin. It's still there that they try to make that impasse just as heavy for us when heck you throw us away in the jail for some dope real quick. Give like sentences 25. So it shouldn't be no different. So yeah, everybody should be held accountable. But then it's other times where I got to now for my life is messed up because I had to allow a higher power to do it. However, I'm always with the smoke, so we can post it, and keep it out there because I need people to know, and then maybe other kids learn to speak up, and again teach your kids about guns and stuff. My little cousins, a lot of them couldn't have guns to play with. If you're not training them like you see that dude, I don't even know his name, but he trained his daughter. She broke that gun all the way down on the table and could put it back together. You teach your family to defend themselves, yes, but not to be out here killing each other. It ain't no unity and it'll never be because we don't know how to get along, which
Right.
is dirtball. Look at where you at in Omaha. That's a small town, and you a strong voice in the community. I already you always been a leader. From no frills, you been out there like that, which is appreciated. But dang, how y'all expect to clean up y'all community? And then they take everything from you from down north or over south. And then everybody sitting at home, they not doing nothing. That's
Yeah.
why I had to move away.
And they criticize me. I mean, I've been getting so much criticism on this latest thing, and like I don't pay no attention and I don't really respond to all the criticism, but for people to criticize me and you're not doing nothing, I just take it with a grain of salt. But like
And
Ms.
that's
Morris,
it.
it's crazy how the black officers don't come out against these known corrupt cops. They never do. And Shauna Roberts, murder has no statute of limitations. Okay.
Yes, but Uncle Biggs broke down the law to me. We'll talk about that in a minute, cause
Okay.
yeah, I had to. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I was just reading to it. But yeah, that's what I was saying to everybody. It is a difference on the statute of limitations. However, everybody got to be held accountable. We want to be strong in the community, and where you fit in, hell, you speak for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no indifference. Maybe if other people stop being so biased about situations, it wouldn't be like that.
Right. Ms. Moore said Warner was no good for the community either. Council Gray all sold out their community. Sherman, you are all they have. Wow. He said, I'm back. What I missed. You have to go back and rewind it, bro. But we put some of this evidence up. And like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and post it online so y'all can take a look at it. And we're gonna go from there. Janelle, your family's on here supporting you. I appreciate y'all showing her so much love. Um, and just being here to listen to what she had to say, to
Right.
look at some of these documents. And it's not her being emotional and can't accept the fact that her dad died or he was this or that. Regardless, you see the cover up and you can see the
That's
evidence
why.
that
Yeah.
he was killed by a bully
He
cop.
was murdered, not
Murdered,
killed,
murdered
murdered.
by a bully cop who was already bullying other people in the community already.
Yeah. So that's the thing. It's a difference. So no, my family know I don't trip off of my dad like that. I post him on holidays, but like I said, a lot of people, when I did finally post something being an adult, a lot of people I went to school with, grew up with, they like, hold on, your dad got murdered by the police. It was never my family. I taught me to know my business, but to hold it. That's why my family wasn't able to fight like that. My grandma was paralyzed. She had an illness. My family had to stay safe. Like I said, I couldn't have the last name, and it wasn't to be so intentional, but it was for safety precautions, because look at what they do. And that's with everybody else, because then you have to protect your family. Look at those kids. Like you said, you've been working with Mama Ammon's granddaughter and stuff. These kids need to know. You know what I'm saying? That's a part of their history. And everybody that's on here, that's my family, they talk about it heavy. But like it ain't emotional. They already know we gonna speak on my dad. My uncle calls me on my dad's birthday. Ever since he came home. And he did 38 years on his head. But on everything, he hit me up for my dad's birthday. And it ain't an emotional thing, but my dad was the oldest. He held it down for my family. And then my thugging ass uncle on the other side, that, yes. So I appreciate that. So keep on doing the good work that you do in the city. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And my
Yeah.
wife, thanks so much for sharing your story and sorry for your loss. When we did discover this stuff, I took all them clippings and everything and I had it on the wall so I can get an overview, and I kept Rudy's picture up just so I can get an
Told me
understanding
that.
of his life and how it was and everything, because it happens so many times. They say you don't know where you going to if you don't know where you come from. And with
Man.
history of how they've been killing us, Rudy's story always sits with me as a lesson that they're going to use the same exact narrative for years and years on. I fear for my life, even though they're the ones who started it. Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. They over here talking about they need you to spell your sister name right. Let me see. Oh, they talking to each other. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
she must know my cousin. It,
huh?
it, it looked like your sister is talking. I mean, not your sister, your wife. Miss Cashel is talking to my cousin, I think.
Oh,
So
she
yeah.
talked about when I had them papers up. She said, "Yeah, I did have them up because she know I have my own little section in the basement, and I put up stuff when I'm down here, especially when I'm going through that particular case. I like to have it visual for me so I never forget. You know,
Right, you told me you had this picture on there, and that's why I appreciate that. You took all of that, and it's been some years, and you still have it,
still
and
got it.
that's a blessing from Ernie Chambers. So
Yeah,
should this need to run for a whole nother 40+ years? So
yeah,
these young folks in the community don't forget, and maybe some of these other young folks will talk about it. You
yeah,
know, you may end up hearing that because you got so many kids that are a part of that.
yeah. And now that we've done this video, it's on YouTube, it's on LinkedIn, it's on Facebook. So now when people Google Rudy White, this video
It's
is going
gonna come
to,
up.
and now we
Amen.
got some historical documented that the story happened. Here's his daughter, and you know, so yeah. And Gay says she appreciates you for sharing your story. So
Thank
yeah,
you.
again, thank you. I know it's been a long time coming. We've been talking
Right.
about it. We finally set a date and did it. So
And did it. I appreciate you.
yeah, and I love you, girl. I love
Thank
you.
you.
Love you. Yep.
All right. Love y'all too. Thank y'all, everybody.
All
And
right.
y'all have a good day, a
Yep. You.
good night, and be blessed and safe.
Yep. See you later. Man, man. So that story has been sitting on me for so long. Thank you, Miss Moore. Sorry for chopping you up as a dude earlier. You know, I just with that story, it just never it never gets old. And I'll be Craig. Thank you, brother Craig. I'll be updating y'all on. Oh, you welcome, Miss Hardeman. Mwah, love you. I'll be updating y'all on this City View stuff. I'm gonna do a separate show for that because there's been so much stuff developing since I did that walkthrough, and yeah, a lot of finger pointing to everybody, trying to blame everybody, and but the whole thing comes back to human life, and when you work for God, God knows that the human life is what's important. That's why we're here. We are important, and a worker for God always gonna put human life before the dollar. And what we're seeing at City View Apartments, y'all, people didn't put human life before a dollar. They took dollars over human life. And the city of Omaha and a lot of people are very guilty. Okay. So yeah, I appreciate y'all joining in. Shit, thanks for sharing Rudy's story. Yes, ma'am. Yep, y'all welcome. I love y'all. Peace and hair grease. And yeah, that walkthrough was disgusting, but I'll be back to talk about that on another day. All right, y'all.